The following is an exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the National Football League. On this episode of the Panthers Huddle, Coach Dave Canales is here as the Panthers seek redemption in the desert. Plus, step inside TD's film room, where the Panthers legend breaks down what the Cardinals have for our Week 2 showdown. Welcome inside the Panthers Huddle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome inside the Panthers Huddle. We appreciate you joining us alongside Panthers legend Thomas Davis. I'm Kristen Balboni. TD, not the result that the Panthers wanted in Week 1, but it's Week 2 now. They have a new opportunity to win against the Arizona Cardinals out west. How are you feeling about that game?
Listen, I'm looking forward to seeing this team bounce back, KB. Not a good performance in Jacksonville at all, like you just talked about. But the thing I love about the NFL, you got another week. These players have now put this behind them, and now they're looking forward to going out and performing. But watching them perform, being the Arizona, watching them perform against the Saints, I wasn't very impressed with the outcome of that football game because we know that the Saints are in a rebuild year. And I was expecting that game to be a lot more lopsided, but they showed up in ways that I didn't expect them to. But we'll see what the Arizona Cardinals are really about now that they have the opportunity to play at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, one game does not a team make. So we are going to see who they are and find out a little bit more about who the Panthers are. You talked about confidence if the Panthers are watching this film about the Cardinals. Yes, it was a win, but as you said, maybe not the most impressive win. In terms of confidence, TD, I want to ask you about the game that the Panthers won last year. The Cardinals came here, played the Panthers at home, and it was a thriller. It came down to the wire. They went to overtime. The Panthers had this big drive. Does that give confidence to the team that, hey, a lot of these guys were on this team last year, and look at what especially the offense was able to accomplish? It
definitely should be a confidence boost for this football team because not only are a lot of those guys in the Arizona team from last year, I just feel like for a very long time, we've kind of had Arizona's number. If you kind of date back to the history of
You've had Arizona's number, yeah.
These guys, we've had their number for a while. But at the end of the day, this team understands that we have to play better. We know that. There's usually a huge jump from Week 1 to Week 2 in all NFL teams. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I absolutely expect that from this football team. As you see Chuba right now running into the end zone to seal that game, there were a lot of things that we did really well against the Arizona Cardinals last year. And you're going to talk about the run game. But one of the things that we absolutely have to do a much better job of, KB, is stopping the run as a defensive whole. We gave up 206 yards last year, and we didn't do very well in stopping the run against the Jacksonville Jaguars either.
Yeah, TD, those numbers are something that everyone wants to see much improved this week against the Cardinals. So I want to stick with defense here. I want you to tell me who on the defense you want to see or expect to see have a really big game in Week 2.
Listen, I need and expect to see J.C. Horn have a big game in this one. He has a tough matchup against Marvin Harrison Jr. We know what Marvin Harrison Jr. brings to the table. We're going to see that later on in the film room. But when you think about Marvin Harrison Jr. and the physicality that he's bringing, it's going to be met with physicality by J.C. Horn, and we know what J.C. Horn does and has been able to do the team's #1 receivers. So I expect to see that in this game against Marvin Harrison Jr.
You know that he is just relishing this challenge,
Listen,
right?
He loves it. He loves it. I love when guys love to go out and compete at a high level, and J.C. is that guy for us.
All right. Well, someone else who is loving to compete at a high level, and we saw a glimpse of it in Week 1 as we switched to the offensive side, is Teteroa McMillan. And I know that is who you want to see have a big game in Week 2.
KB, I've been talking about this kid since January, and he did not disappoint me. Obviously, there were a few things that were out there that you could see. There was a few rookie mistakes.
He's a rookie, yeah.
But I love what I saw from this kid. He went out and he put up big numbers, not huge numbers, but he made big plays. Some of the catches that he was able to make really showed me what this kid is capable of. And you get to see it sometimes in practice. Well, a lot of times in practice you get to see it. But when you get to see what happens in practice gets translated over into the game film and on the game field, That's one of the things that I think really separates T-Mac from some of the other receivers that we have on this roster and some of the other receivers that are in the NFL. And he's going to be a special player for us for a long time. Panther Nation, we got a good one.
Very much looking forward to seeing what he can do after that great Week 1 performance where he really, got the attention of fans and the opposing team, no doubt about it.
Some of those catches, though, that one-handed catch, special.
So good. It's so good. All right, we are just getting started here on the Huddle. Right now, though, let's take a listen to what the team has to say about that Week 2 matchup with the Cardinals.
I think you see Kyler Murray scrambling around, really great quarterback, great receiver in Marv, great tight end. So, they a lot of challenges, and, we're excited to embrace the challenge.
Kyler Murray, he's like a magician back there. You see what he do. He do all types of stuff. He be running around. It's really just about rushing, not as 4 individuals, but as one. And I feel like when we all come together and rush as a unit, y'all gonna see what we could do.
We got to come out swinging. We got to be the tone setters. Ultimately, we just got to finish drives. That's about it. We got to make the plays when the opportunity comes, and just make it easier on Bryce and make it easier on the play callers as well. So just being able to come out strong.
Losing in this league is always disappointing. We're all very competitive people. We all hate to lose, but at the end of the day, all you can do is turn the losses into a lesson, right? And figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen again.
I guess I'm kind of learning just how fast I can bounce back with something like this, a little bit of adversity.
Do you think you'll play Sunday?
So, we'll see. Definitely want to tread in the right direction, so keep stacking good days like today and see what happens.
Coming up, Kristen Balboni sits down with Coach Dave Canales as the Panthers look to bounce back in Arizona on the Panthers Huddle. This exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers Television Network is brought to you in part by Bank of America, the official bank of the Carolina Panthers.
Back here on the Huddle, joined by head coach Dave Canales. Coach, as you guys get ready to get on this plane and go to Arizona, what are the lessons that you are taking away from the Week 1 loss against the Jags?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we got to take care of the ball better. The turnovers, really made it challenging. We weren't able to play complementary football. You give the ball up, particularly when you're in scoring range before the 2-minute drive, but you just put your defense back out there so quickly, that this game is a war of attrition, and we got to respond to adversity. I'd like our guys to be able to respond and, not allow them to turn it into points, but at some times you give the ball in plus territory. It makes it easier for the opponent. I think that's first and foremost there. And then I think our tackling needs to improve. We got to get guys to the ground. We had some great opportunities with our run fits early on, and weren't able to get their players down to the ground a couple times at the line of scrimmage, and then a couple times in the back half of the defense. Offensively, it's just about calming everything down and getting our execution. We just have to continue to build on the reps and the time that we've spent with all of our processes, from protections to our concepts to getting out in our formations. All those things just need to come together. So when everything calms down, we have a really talented group that can make plays.
You talk about calming down. How was the evaluation around, let's say, the pre-snap operations in Week 1?
Yeah, I thought the communication was great. I think that, for me, what I learned is we just have to continue to push the group to get up at the line of scrimmage and give us that 5 or 6 seconds more to be able to operate, get things ID'd, where everything's under control, and that's the part that we're working on.
Arizona came here last year to Bank of America Stadium. Panthers pulled out a great win. How can you build off of that, or how do you look at that film as it relates to this game this week?
Well, we can look at that film from a schematic standpoint to see how they were trying to attack us on both sides. That'll give us a good starting point. But this is a new year. This is a new team. They're a new team. I know they have some familiar pieces on offense with Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. and James Conner. But at the same time, they've added new pieces. They've had their off-season self-scout. They've had their study time, their training camp, and all those things. So you got to look at what they did in the first week and be able to say, okay, this looks like they're going in a different direction with these different things. So for me, it's yes, we do have some information to go off of, but it's a new season.
Is it used as an encouragement? You show the guys the film and you say, this is what you did last year. Does that come into play at all, or is it all schematic when you look at that film last year?
I think it's pretty schematic. I think that part kind of happens a little bit naturally, where the guys have a good feeling and reminder when we play good football, we can win. We can win these games. You know, for a team that was battling for a playoff berth, the Cardinals were at the time. You know, to be able to say that good processes, good execution lead to good results. You know, but beyond that, like, this is a new team. We're figuring out who we are currently. You know, and to know that we have these challenges now to face.
You mentioned the tackling. I know the run defense wasn't where you wanted it in this last game. How do you now go and look at Kyler, who is a dual threat quarterback? How do you stop him in the run game?
Yeah, we'll have schemes for that. We just have to figure out, you know, where the tight ends, the backs are in formation, and just be aware of some of those things.
Let's talk about the Panthers offense. We know that, as you say, when the Panthers offense is humming, you are leaning on Chuba Hubbard. How do you want to get him going in this game against Arizona?
Yeah, first starts off by figuring out our best matchups with personnel to see where we can, you know, best attack and have a variety of things, you know, to keep us balanced. But then it's just a matter of, you know, if we can be good on third down, we can get a new set of downs, which will lead to more rushes, which will lead to more of those opportunities for Chuba to be able to do his thing. And Rico, who had a couple of nice touches last week too. So I'm excited about that group going this week.
I want to ask you about Teteroa McMillan. To my eyes, what a bright spot in that game. What did you see from the rookie, the Panthers' first-round draft pick in that first game?
Just saw a guy we can count on. He played fast. He ended up where he was supposed to be, when he was supposed to be there, so that timing and rhythm of the pass game is so critical. He showed us that we can count on him for those things and made some big plays, left a couple out there, you know. But I just love the competitive nature. His demeanor on game day was excellent.
And Coach, lastly, as you watch the film and as you're emphasizing to the guys this week, what are the other things that you really liked from that Week 1 game that you want to see continue here in Week 2?
Just the effort, the toughness, you know, the physicality we're counting on. That was all there. But we got to execute. And that's something, that's the starting point for me, is effort and toughness, enthusiasm. We can do a better job celebrating each other. Celebrate the wins as they come, regardless of what time in the game it is. These are hard-earned wins. Celebrate each other, you know, and talking about in the play-by-play wins. Celebrate each other, lift each other up, encourage, say, I see you, you know, so that we can continue to build the team, the bigger picture team and the camaraderie that we want to build.
We'll be looking for those celebrations on Sunday. Coach, thank you for the time, as always.
Thanks, Kristen.
Up next, step inside TD's film room as the Panthers legend breaks down film on the Cardinals on the Panthers Huddle.
Welcome to TD's Film Room. We are, of course, talking about the Cardinals and TD. The first guy that you have got us watching film of today is a rookie out of Michigan who is already making a big splash, and that is Will Johnson, someone that I know you are a big fan of.
KB, I've been a big fan of this kid, like you said, coming out of Michigan, and he was projected to be a top 10 pick. And a lot of people kind of fell off him when the draft came around. But Will Johnson is without a doubt showing everybody on film why he deserved to be a top 10 pick. We're going to jump right into his first game against the Saints. And as you can see, when you have a corner, like one of the things that we love about J.C. Horn is not only his ability to cover guys, but his physicality, his willingness to stick his head in there and not be afraid to go and tackle guys. And as you can see right here, Will Johnson has some of those same traits. Right here against Chris Olave, unblocked, and without a doubt, this is a tone setter. This is something that you want to see out of your cornerback, because a lot of cornerbacks kind of shy away from contact. But Will Johnson, he's bringing the contact, he's bringing the boom, and that's something that gets everybody excited. If you look at those defensive players, KB, they were enamored by seeing that rookie go in and set the tone early in that football game.
Nothing like a rookie setting the tone, and poor Chris Olave on
Man,
that.
I hate that for Chris Olave, man, the way that they continue to set him up.
Now, that wasn't the only big play, though, that Will Johnson had in this game. You have another play for us.
Listen, we talked about corners. I talked about him being physical, being able to stick his head in there, going and making tackles, and not being afraid to be physical. Another thing that he's really good at is coverage, and that's what you want to see out of cornerbacks. Will Johnson, this interception doesn't end up counting, but he had a phenomenal day. He played this ball in the air like it was his. Eyes on the ball, coming down with it, and being smart right here. You don't get to see that out of a lot of rookies, KB. Most rookies would have brought this ball right out of the end zone, but what he does right here showed me that this kid the moment is never going to be too big for a kid like Will Johnson, because playing that ball in the air in New Orleans, we know how hostile that environment can be from time to time, but we had the chance to see 22, unfortunately, wide open down the field, coming away with a big play, but Will Johnson was on top of that. He was step for step with that guy. And
he looked like a receiver catching a touchdown pass.
Listen, that's exactly what he looked like. So Will Justin is a guy that's going to have a very long, productive career, and I'm really looking forward to watch this kid play. But
as we said, just not Sunday.
I don't need to see any of those interceptions on Sunday, but I'm looking forward to watch him play and kind of really show the rest of the league why he deserved to be a top 10 pick, like we all thought.
Absolutely. All right, let's turn our attention to the Cardinals offense. We know Kyler Murray is a weapon himself, but he has also got some big-time weapons. We're going to start with Trey McBride.
Listen, Trey McBride has been a phenomenal tight end for the Arizona Cardinals, really since he's been with the football team. And he doesn't get a lot of recognition or get recognized as one of the top tight ends in the NFL, but he is absolutely that. And this is one of the reasons why Kyler Murray, it's like his comfort zone. He loves to get the ball to Trey McBride, and you can see that with his numbers. And right here, you can tell that he's a very smart player. New Orleans is playing a zone defense right here. He does a great job of just finding the soft spot in the zone and just sitting down. And Kyler Murray has his eyes to him, and he gets the ball and he gets upfield, and that's what you want to see out of your tight end. You want to see guys that not only can block, but can get downfield, get open, make the catch, and get yak yardage, and that's what Trey McBride does for them a lot, KB. So we got to be in tune to where he is at all times, because he's going to be looking for him on Sunday. Speaking
of guys that can make the catch, you know the defense always has to have their eyes on where Marvin Harrison Jr.
Absolutely, you better.
Tell us why.
Yep, KB, our next guy without a doubt is Marvin Harrison Jr. His dad paved the way, and he's continuing to carry the torch. As you can see him right here, he's the end man on the line of scrimmage, and this tells me that they have a ton of confidence because he's covered right now. He's covered right now. And a lot of time in the NFL, you want receivers to be able to come away with that 50-50 ball. With Marvin Harrison, it's more like an 85-15 ball. So with his size, his speed, his athleticism, we have to make sure that we're doing a great job of identifying what this kid is and knowing that even when he seems like he's covered, they have enough confidence to still throw the ball to him. And he has great hands, great eyes, and he can do a really good job of tracking the ball in the air. A lot like we saw in T-Mac in our first game as well, but we talked about that with him coming out of college. Some of those same traits Marvin Harrison Jr. has, and it's going to be a great battle for J.C. Horn. Hopefully we're going to have J.C. mirroring him everywhere he goes, and it should be a great battle, so I'm looking forward to that. So we got to be in tune offensively when they take the field to where Trey McBride is, and to where Marvin Harrison Jr. is, but also keeping an eye on the little guy if he escapes the pocket. So that's the film room.
Tall task for the Panthers defense, but we know that they are up to the challenge. All right, coming up, TD is going to give us the #1 area where he wants to see improvement in this next game. I'll give you a little hint. It might have something to do with defense. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning for the Panthers Television Network is provided by Charlotte Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Associates, providing premier eye and ENT care to North and South Carolina.
Welcome back to the Huddle. It is time now for our Coke Spotlight. TD, I would love to know from you, who or what are you focused on when it comes to Week 2 versus Arizona? We talked a lot about all the things we want to see, but if you had to hone in on just one area, where would it be?
Listen, I'm going right for this run defense. That's where it starts at when you play in a team like Arizona. As we all know, the last time we played them, we gave up 200 yards rushing. That's something that this defense cannot allow Arizona to do again. We know we didn't fare well last week. This is going to be a great test for them to see how they bounce back from that last game. In particular, up front is where it starts at, but I need better play out of my linebackers, KB.
Okay, good to know. Always challenging the linebackers,
Always
as you
and
should
forever.
be. As you should be, always expecting perfection there. I want to go back to that D-line for a second. You know better than anyone what it is like to come back from a very serious injury and certainly how to play at a high level. We know that Derek Brown is well on his way to that. But as many players have pointed out, and you in particular, it's not just like, hey, week one, you're ready to go no matter what. It's been a long process for him.
It's definitely been a long process because we lost him in week one of last year, and it's tough mentally for a player. And I don't think people really understand what that's like when you go into a football game, because as much as you try not to think about the injury, you are literally thinking about, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to end up in the same position. So I know that was something for DB in that first game, getting over that mental block of just being back out there. He didn't play in the preseason, so I feel like that's something for him that's going to be much better this week. As he continues to go on week in, week out, he'll get better each week.
All right, my Coke spotlight is the run game because, look, if Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle get going, that's going to be a successful game because, TD, as we know, that is what the Panthers want to do. It's what every team wants to do, right? You want to run the ball and stop the run. So we want to see a big game from them. You
have to see a big game from them, and we talked about it starts up front. I think we both understand the importance of that. So they got to have a big game without a doubt. 243 yards the last time we played these guys.
We want to see more of that.
We need to see more of that for sure.
Absolutely. All right, thank you all so much for watching Inside the Huddle with me. Thank you to my amazing co-host, Thomas Davis, and of course, Coach Canales for stopping by. We will see you next week after the Arizona game. See you then.
Keep pounding.
You've been watching the Panthers Huddle, a copyrighted presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the NFL.